Hey everybody, Jim here with another video for you. This is 50 Years in Film, 1987. We've got some iconic titles, we've got some obscure titles, we've got some awesome movies, we've got some pretty lousy movies. But before we begin, as always, if you would be so kind, if you like this video, if you like this content, please give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, and hit me up in the comments. Let me know what movies from this year are your favorites. Now, as always, I'm going to just preface this video by saying that these are certainly not all the movies that came out in 1987. These are simply the titles that I have on Blu-ray. I do have many other titles from this year on DVD, but they will not be included in this video. One other title will not be included in this video from this year, and that is Joe Dante's masterpiece, Inner Space. The reason why Inner Space won't be here is because it didn't come in the mail today, because today is President's Day. I thought it would be here in time to do this video, and as they would say in Happy Gilmore, jackass. Anyway, let's move on. 1987, like I said, some great movies. We're going to start off in comedy like we always do. And for my Mel Brooks collection, we're going to start off with Spaceballs. Along with Mel Brooks, co-starring John Candy, Bill Pullman, Rick Moranis. This movie's great. It's a spoof of Star Wars and so many other space movies and science fiction movies. I absolutely love Spaceballs. The next comedy on the list, The Witches of Eastwick, starring Jack Nicholson, Cher, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Veronica Cartwright. I absolutely love The Witches of Eastwick. It is a very acquired taste, and it kind of tastes like cherries. Sorry, I couldn't resist. But I absolutely love Witches of Eastwick and always have. Next, we have Dragnet, starring Dan Aykroyd, Tom Hanks, Christopher Plummer, and Dabney Coleman. Again, real stupid movie, but I've always enjoyed it. Next, this is one of the obscure ones I was talking about. Amazon Women on the Moon. This is a Kino title. And as you can see in the credits, starring lots of actors. And it was directed by Joe Dante, John Landis, among others. This movie is kind of like a 80s version of the Kentucky Fried Movie. It's assorted skits. A lot of cameos from a bunch of different actors. Uneven comedy. There are parts in this movie that are absolutely hysterically funny, but there's also a lot of dead air. The next, we have 3 O'Clock High, starring Casey Siemaszko. This has kind of gained somewhat of a cult following through the years. It's kind of like a high school version of High Noon. And it's a fun movie. Now we're venturing into the fantasy realm with Rob Reiner's masterpiece, The Princess Bride. This is my Criterion Collection Blu-ray. Sorry. As you can see, it's like a book. Princess Bride is a wonderful movie. I really liked it when it came out. I was a 20-year-old. I really liked it. Now as a 57-year-old grandfather, I absolutely adore this movie. Next, we're back to Superman. And unfortunately, you all knew it was coming. We're at Superman 4: Quest for Peace. Without a doubt, the worst Superman movie ever made. And unfortunately, it was the last one that Christopher Reeve ever appeared in. He did appear in other movies, of course, but this was his last cut as Superman. This is a Canon movie. We're back to Canon. And they actually cut the budget in half while they were making the movie, scrapped the script, and started from scratch. And it shows. This movie is an absolute mess. Now we're going into the dramas and action. And we're going to start off with a couple of masterpieces in that genre. Starting off with Brian De Palma's The Untouchables. All-star cast. But first and foremost, Sean Connery in his Academy Award-winning performance for Best Supporting Actor. I absolutely love this movie. Fantastic score by Ennio Morricone. The Untouchables is iconic. As is this film, but for totally different reasons. Lethal Weapon. Starring Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and crazy Gary Busey. You knew I had to say it. There were many buddy cop movies before this. Lethal Weapon perfected the genre. It's still the best in that genre. I absolutely love this movie. Now we're going to switch over to James Bond. And in 1987, it was The Living Daylights. Timothy Dalton's debut as James Bond. Originally, Timothy Dalton was not supposed to be James Bond. That role was supposed to go to Pierce Brosnan, who would later take over after the two-movie run with Timothy Dalton. But he was contracted to an NBC TV show at the time called Remington Steele, and they wouldn't let him out of his contract. So Timothy Dalton was Plan B, and unfortunately, he got a short shrift from the movie companies, I believe. The Living Daylights is an okay movie. It's not great, but it's okay. But he is very good as James Bond, and he does get another shot in 2 years with License to Kill, which I do think is a better Bond film. But we'll get to that one in 2 years. Now we've got a couple of war movies for you. The first one I just covered on one of my recent 5 films to check out, and that's Hamburger Hill. Truly an ensemble cast in this movie. Dylan McDermott is definitely the lead, but this is truly an ensemble piece. And it's a very effective Vietnam movie. It's based on a true event. Not much for story. This one's all about action, but this is a great movie. But the real iconic Vietnam movie from 1987 was, of course, Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. Starring Matthew Modine, Adam Baldwin, Arliss Howard, and in an incredible performance, R. Lee Ermey. Full Metal Jacket's a masterpiece. It's one of the greatest Vietnam movies ever made. Now we're switching over to some science fiction. In 1987, it had some great science fiction. Starting off with The Hidden. The Hidden I put first in science fiction after the action movies because, quite frankly, this is another one of those movies that defies genre. It's 3 or 4 genres mixed into one. But my God, is this movie fun. I also included this on one of my very first episodes of 5 movies to check out. Jack Shoulder directed this. He would go on to direct Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. But The Hidden's his best movie. And this movie is just so much fun. Please check it out. But the next 2 science fiction films are definitely iconic. First we have Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop. Starring Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Ronnie Cox. This movie is so good. This is one of those movies I could watch every day and never get bored of it. Working at the theater, when the teaser trailer came out for this movie, people laughed. They thought that this was going to be the worst movie ever made. And quite frankly, so did I. And then I caught it the night before it came out. Watched it with a group of friends because I'll admit it, we smoked some pot and we watched this movie, thought that, we'd get a laugh. And we did get a laugh. We got many laughs. But my God, RoboCop is just so good. It's one of the best movies of the 80s. The other truly iconic sci-fi classic from 87 though is Predator. Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and the late great Carl Weathers, who just passed away. R.I.P. Carl Weathers. He is wonderful. He was wonderful. He will always be wonderful. But directed by John McTiernan, Predator, again, quite simply one of the most iconic movies of the 80s. One of the most popular movies of the 80s. At the time, it was a hit. It wasn't a huge hit, but this movie definitely spawned an entire franchise. But the original Predator will always be the best. Now we're switching over to some psychological horror, I guess you would call it. Angel Heart, directed by Alan Parker, starring Mickey Rourke, Lisa Bonet, and Robert De Niro. This is another movie I included way back when on my 5 to check out. This movie's a slow burn, but it's great. I really love this movie. Similar in plot to that, The Believers, directed by John Schlesinger, starring Martin Sheen, Helen Shaver, Robert Loggia, and Jimmy Smits. This is another one of those forgotten movies. I have not included this one on that series yet, but this is a movie not too many people remember or have ever heard about. This is a Twilight Time Blu-ray. I believe it's out of print, and I've never seen it anywhere else. But I did remember seeing this theatrically, and it creeped the hell out of me. And then we've got The Monster Squad. This is a Kino title. Here's the one sheet. Directed by Fred Decker and written by Fred Decker and Shane Black. This movie's a lot of fun. It's a good gateway horror movie for kids. If anybody's watching, they've got kids and they're into horror, this is a good one for them. This one is just goofy as hell. From Code Red, Blue Monkey, aka Insect. When I say obscure movies, this is what I mean by obscure movies. A lot of people have never heard of this movie. I stumbled across this movie when I was working at a video store. Yes, in addition to a movie theater, I also worked in a video store. What can I say? I'm obsessed with movies. This movie's really bizarre. I can't even describe it. It's like a throwback to the old 50s monster movies. It's the only way I could really describe it. It's not scary. Then we've got Creepshow 2. The sequel to George Romero's classic. A lot of people love this movie. Quite honestly, I've never really cared for it. I do like The Raft, which is the middle story. There's 3 stories in this one. But quite honestly, compared to the original Creepshow, this movie doesn't hold a candle. Especially that stupid animation wraparound sequence. It's just so bad. And I remember at the time seeing this and saying to myself, this is so bad. But I saved some good stuff for last, and we've got 4 bangers coming up. The first one, Joel Schumacher's The Lost Boys. One of the most iconic 80s movies ever. '87 had some great vampire movies. Unfortunately, the other one that I would definitely include on this list if I had it was Near Dark, but Near Dark is currently not available on Blu-ray. But The Lost Boys is so much fun. Again, not scary, but so much fun. This movie plays like a rock concert. And if I had to pick one movie from the entire decade to show someone that I think would represent the 80s, it would probably be The Lost Boys. Going in a totally different direction from The Lost Boys, though, John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. This is my Scream Factory Steelbook. I feel this is one of his most underrated movies. I did a John Carpenter countdown a while back. You can go and check that out if you'd like. I absolutely love this movie. I always have. I always will. And then we have Such Sights to Show You. Sorry, this is from my Scarlet Box Arrow Hellraiser set. And we're talking about Clive Barker's debut, Hellraiser. Another iconic horror movie from the 80s. Pinhead is only in this movie for about 10 minutes, but he instantly became a horror icon and stands right up there with Michael Myers, Freddy, Jason, and the others. This movie spawned a bunch of sequels. I only own the first 3, which is part of the box set. If you want to check out that box set, you can go to my Arrow collection video where I do open it up at the end. But Hellraiser is a great movie. But my favorite horror movie from that year is Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2. This is one I wish I would have seen theatrically, but unfortunately I didn't. I did see this on video when I was working in that video store. And my God, I love this movie. I love all the Evil Dead movies, including the newest ones, including Ash vs. the Evil Dead, which I do have on Blu-ray. But Evil Dead 2 is definitely my favorite in the entire franchise. In one word, it's groovy. I'm sorry, I could not resist. That's so bad. But it's so fitting to end 1987 on that bad joke. I'm really sorry about that, guys. But anyway, if you'd like this, please give me a thumbs up. I meant the video, not the joke. And we'll catch you on the next one. I am going to continue to pump these out at a higher clip. Thank you very much. Have a great night, guys.